Yo, what is going on, guys? Jaeky here. Today we're going to be unboxing and reviewing, giving my initial impressions of the Zowie gsr-se ROUGE edition. This was sent out by Zowie for review, but as always, that does not affect my opinion of the product. So without further ado, let's get this open, and I'm going to give you guys my initial impressions of it. We're going to use it a little bit for Valorant, and I'm going to be basically telling you guys how I feel about it and compare it to some of the other mouse pads I've used in the past. So this is the packaging for it. It does come in a box rolled up. So nothing too crazy, nothing like the Artisan where it comes in a flat box. But of course, that's just to save on their shipping prices and stuff like that. So let's get this thing open. I have used a GSR in the past, but I have never actually used a gsr-se. I've heard that with this iteration of the gsr-se, they have improved the humidity resistance, which, to be honest, I can't really test because it's not very humid where I am. Here it is on the table. It is not lying flat, but I'm going to try and press it down a little bit at the corners and see if I can get it as flat as I can. Obviously, this is to be expected because it does come up rolled up, so it's probably going to take a little bit for it to actually flatten out. But yeah, that's about as flat as I can get it right there. One thing I want to point out is that the thickness of this pad is actually very thick. So compared to like my old GSR as well as my HyperX Fury S that I've used, this is a lot thicker. I don't know if you can see right there. Very thick. There's no stitched edges, so fraying is maybe a concern with this mouse pad because there's no stitched edges. So really the longevity and durability is something that is my main concern about this mouse pad. That's the main concern is durability, because I've also read with the Zowie GSR mouse pads is that after a couple months, a lot of people have experienced a lot of muddiness with this pad where there's a lot of slowdowns where like in the middle of the mouse pad where they're using their mouse the most. So durability is definitely a big concern. Obviously, I can't test that right now. It's just initial impressions because obviously I'm not going to be able to use it for that long right now. It's just how I feel out of the box. But let's switch over to a overhead view with my webcam and I'll continue giving you guys my first impressions of the pad. Alright guys, here it is on the desk, and initial impressions of the pad is that it's very smooth, but it's not as fast as my Artisan Zero. So I don't really want to compare it to the Zero because obviously it's a very unfair comparison. If I'm going to compare this to the Zero is going to blow this out of the water 9 times out of 10 for pretty much everything. Build quality wise, you know, the Artisan has the stitched edges. The Artisan Zero feels better than this. I can definitely say that off the bat, but I don't want to do that. I want to just look at it as a standalone mouse pad because it is a lot cheaper than the Artisan Artisan Zero. So just looking at it alone, first thing I noticed with I have a G Pro Superlight, by the way, with Tiger ice skates, in case any of you are curious. It feels smooth. It definitely feels very smooth, but also a lot slower than my Artisan Zero, which is to be expected. Compared to my old GSR, I don't know if this is because my old GSR was really worn down, but my old GSR was super muddy. This is definitely a little bit faster than my old GSR. In terms of the comparison to my HyperX Fury S, I would say it's around the same level of smoothness, maybe a little bit slower than my Fury S. But very comparable to the Fury S. The smoothness, maybe a little bit smoother actually. There's this weird sort of, I don't know, there's this weird sort of smoothness on the mouse pad right now, maybe because it's so new and it isn't worn in yet. Let's actually DM a little bit on Valorant with it. By the way, I forgot to mention that this mouse pad currently retails for $35 USD. So obviously compared to something like an Artisan Zero, it's a lot cheaper. And it's very comparable to other cloth mouse pads like the HyperX Fury S. I think is around the same price. So that's pretty much the competition out there. I also thought I'd point this out. It's not really bothering me too much, but there is sort of like a smell of chemicals or like dye. I'm pretty sure that's what it is the dye that they use for the mouse pad. It smells pretty strongly of that right now, and even like if I run my hand on it, like there's the smell just lingers on my hand. So that's something to point out. It'll probably go away after a couple days. It doesn't bother me too much, but if you're like really sensitive to that sort of smell, then that's something to keep in mind. But let's play some deathmatch here. See how it feels. I'm going to compare it to my Artisan Zero because that's the mouse pad that I've been maining here. for the past month or so. Compared to my Artisan Zero, there's definitely a lot more static friction, so getting the mouse moving initially is a lot more difficult on the GSR. Dynamic friction is also lower than my Artisan Zero, so even moving it is feels a lot slower on this pad. Smoothness right now is actually not too bad. I would say the smoothness is about the same as my Zero currently, but again, I think that's just because the pad is so new. That's why it feels so smooth right now. The real test is going to be using this for an extended period of time, like a couple weeks or even a couple months, to see how the durability is. It definitely feels good. It feels fine to use so far out of the box. It doesn't feel as premium as my Artisan mousepad, but for this budget and price range, it's definitely not a bad pad. It actually feels pretty soft, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that it's a lot more, a lot thicker than the old GSR and other cloth mouse pads. Like compared to a lot of other traditional cloth mouse pads, like the QCK or even in HyperX Fury S, old GSR, it's a lot thicker. So yeah, it does feel a lot more soft on the hand. But yeah, it feels pretty decent, and for the price, it's not a bad recommendation. But really, to get like a full idea of it, I'd have to use it for an extended period of time. Just like for the initial review, it feels like a solid mousepad. But if you do have the extra budget, I definitely still prefer my Artisan Zero, obviously, over this. Like, this isn't a mousepad that I would choose over my Zero. But it's not a bad mousepad. So yeah, if you're looking for, I mean, if you want a Zowie mousepad, this one's not bad at all. There are a lot of pros as well that use this mousepad, so take that how you will. So yeah, in conclusion, not a bad mousepad, especially for the price range, $35 USD. The main concern for me is durability, which I can't test right now. There are no stitch edges, so fraying in the long term, just as well as like how the surface is going to feel after, you know, a long time of using it, is definitely something that I'm curious about. But yeah, definitely no glaring issues so far from what I can see. But if you do have the extra little bit of budget, I would still go for the Artisan Zero. Just comparing this to the Artisan Zero, obviously the Artisan Zero wins in almost every aspect. So if you have the budget, I would say go for something a little bit more premium. But if you're looking for a mousepad in this range, this isn't a bad one to look at for sure. So yeah, I'm probably going to test this out for another week or two just to get more of a long-term review. But if anything crazy happens that's like really big, I'll make another update video on it. But so far, not a bad mousepad at all. There we go, won the deathmatch. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. That was my initial unboxing and first impressions of the Zowie gsr-se ROUGE. And I hope this video it was informative and helps you guys out. If it did, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.